My Cultural Plunge by Kylie Kuntz. Judaism is a monotheistic religion developed by ancient Hebrews. The history of Judaism tells the story of God creating the world in 6 days and resting on the seventh. God chose Abraham and his children to live in the homeland of Israel. For over 200 years, the Jewish people were enslaved in Egypt before they were led out of Egypt to be saved by God. God told the Israelites how to live. For over 40 years, the Israelites wandered around before they settled in the promised land of Jerusalem, where they built the Holy Temple, which would later be destroyed by Roman invaders, thus exiling Jewish people out of the promised land again. The Torah is the holy book of the Jewish faith. Moses led the Jewish people out of Egypt into God before he freed them. Moses recorded the story of creation in what became known as the Torah, and thus there are the 5 books of Moses. The Torah also contains 19 other books that are divided into prophets and writings. Jewish people have a certain set of traditions like many other organized religions. The Torah contains 613 instructions, called mitzvahs, that either pertain to the Holy Temple or day-to-day Jewish life. Some of these include eating kosher, celebrating certain holidays, participating in prayer, or Shabbat, which is resting on Sundays just like God did. The church I chose to attend was Congregation Agudas Achim, which is a part of the Jewish Community Center in Austin, Texas. The Jewish Community Center is made up of several synagogues and schools. The synagogue was very beautiful and it seemed to be very modern. Prior to going to the service, I had done my research as well as spoken to an assistant rabbi. I had emailed to make sure it was okay that I attended, and I was given a few options of several services that I could attend, to which I chose which worked best for me. I was nervous going in. As I walked in, I realized I had no idea where I was going. So, I decided I was going to ask someone for help. I noticed a refreshment table. I introduced myself to a woman and I asked if the sanctuary was down the hall where I heard voices coming from. Not very kindly, she told me not to go in because it's rude to interrupt, and pointed her finger to the opposite hallway to where I was looking to find the right room. I wandered around and found some very informational pamphlets. When it was time, I found a seat in the sanctuary where I was not very welcomed by anybody else. I was glared at so much that I didn't want to look up. I even began to question my attire, but then I realized I was dressed right looking around at everybody else. My previous sources I had talked to told me that funeral attire was safe, so I had worn a long-sleeved black shirt and a non-abrasive black floral floor-length skirt. The service began, I was enthralled. It was so interesting to me. Though it was so hard to understand since so much of it was in Hebrew, it was hard to look away. The singing was so interesting, and so many people were involved constantly, leading prayer and singing in front of everybody. Another negative experience I had was with the man sitting next to me. In the pew there are 2 books, one full of prayers, and one is the Torah. I was looking at the Torah as I had never seen one before. He plopped the prayer book aggressively down on my lap and said, "You could at least look at the correct book." I was deeply saddened by this, and all I could say was, "I'm sorry." Overall, I thought the synagogue was so beautiful and the service was interesting. I was let down that my experience was not a positive one, but I do think that it was beneficial that I learned so much and I know how it feels to be an outsider. I think that it will help me as an educator in the long run.